All right, let's jump right in. We're about to explore a new frontier in medicine, one that's happening on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. We're talking about a battlefield inside our own bodies, where the fight against disease is being waged at the molecular level. Welcome to the world of nanomedicine. And you know, for so many of us, this is exactly where the story starts. This quote, it just hits home, doesn't it? It captures that feeling of dread that comes with traditional cancer treatments. I mean, sure, they're powerful, but they're basically a sledgehammer. They cause so much collateral damage, often hurting the patient almost as much as the disease itself. But what if we could do better? What if, instead of a sledgehammer, we could use something more like a microscopic scalpel? Well, that is the big promise of nanomedicine. It's all about using these incredibly tiny particles. We're talking thousands of times smaller than a single human hair to go inside our bodies and fix things, cell by cell.
And the promise here, it's nothing short of a revolution. For decades, scientists have been chasing this dream of a magic bullet, a treatment that could hunt down and destroy only the diseased cells, leaving all the healthy tissue around them completely unharmed. Nanomedicine? Well, it might just be the thing that finally makes that dream a reality.
The real key here is their size. We're talking about particles that are between 1 and 500 nanometers. Now, to give you some perspective, a single human hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide. So because these things are just so unbelievably small, they can navigate the body's tiniest little pathways, getting to places that normal drugs just can't reach.
And this right here shows you just how far they can really go. What we're seeing are the potential paths for these nanoparticles to travel, from, say, our lungs into our blood, our lymph system, and even into the brain. They can get past the blood-brain barrier. That is the body's ultimate security system, this formidable shield that protects our most important organ. This ability makes them seem, well, pretty much unstoppable.
Which brings us to this really fascinating puzzle. If these particles are so tiny and so good at getting around that they can literally sneak past the brain's security, then what on earth could possibly stop them from getting inside a tumor? This is the central mystery we've got to unpack.
Well, the answer is that a tumor isn't just a dumb clump of bad cells. Oh no, it actually builds its own defense system. It creates this complex, hostile landscape all around it called the tumor microenvironment. So you have to stop thinking of it as a target and start thinking of it as a fortress.
And this fortress has some serious defenses. First, it's got these thick, dense walls made of something called the extracellular matrix. Then, the pressure inside the tumor is so high that it's constantly pushing fluid outwards, like a river that's actively pushing our little nanoparticles away. Even the blood vessels that are supposed to feed it are a twisted, leaky mess. And to top it all off, it's surrounded by other cells that act like guards, constantly reinforcing the whole structure.
So here's the bottom line. This biological fortress is shockingly good at its job. In fact, studies show that often less than 1% of the nanoparticles we send in for cancer treatment ever actually make it to the tumor. 1%. It's a massive, massive delivery problem.
But here's the cool part. Scientists aren't just trying to use a bigger battering ram anymore. The whole strategy has changed. They're trying to be smarter, not harder. They're trying to figure out how to pick the lock on the tumor's fortress.
See, the old way was pretty passive. It was basically a bet on the fact that tumors have leaky blood vessels. The hope was that nanoparticles would just kind of seep through the cracks. But as we just saw, that doesn't really work very well. The new approach is to design smart nanoparticles that can actually respond and adapt to the unique environment that the tumor creates.
And where do you find the key to pick the lock? Well, it turns out the tumor's greatest strength, its crazy, out-of-control growth, is also its greatest weakness. Because they grow so fast, tumors pump out a ton of acidic waste. This creates a uniquely acidic little neighborhood around them, which is a weakness we can actually exploit.
So check out how clever this is. A smart nanoparticle cruises through the bloodstream wearing a protective shield, which keeps it stable and hidden. But as soon as it gets near a tumor and senses that slight acidity, a switch gets flipped. It drops its shield, and its surface charge actually reverses from negative to positive. This helps it stick to and get inside the negatively charged cancer cells way more effectively. It's just an absolutely beautiful and elegant solution.
And the strategies get even more direct than that. I mean, some nanoparticles are being designed to act like tiny little demolition crews. They carry enzymes that can literally digest parts of that dense matrix, the fortress walls, clearing a path so the drugs can get deeper inside. Okay, so the science is just wow. It's truly incredible. We're figuring out how to breach the tumor's defenses with this amazing precision. But
Having this kind of power forces us to zoom out and start asking some much, much bigger questions.
I mean, let's say we perfect the delivery. We defeat the fortress every single time. Mission accomplished, right? Well, not so fast. What are the long-term consequences of putting these microscopic machines into our bodies? The science is getting solved, but the societal challenges are really just beginning.
And these are the big ones. What happens to these particles over years and decades? If they can't break down, could they build up and become toxic? And how in the world do you write laws for a technology that's changing so fast our regulations can't keep up? And maybe most importantly, how do we make sure these life-saving treatments don't just become a luxury for the rich?
But all of these challenges are also an opportunity. And I think this quote puts it perfectly. The sheer complexity of nanomedicine, from the biology to the engineering, all the way to the ethics, it demands a totally new way of doing science, where experts from every field have to work together to navigate this new world safely and responsibly.
So that's where we are. We're standing on the edge of this incredible cliff, looking out at a technology that could give us precise control over our own bodies. One that promises a future with far better treatments, maybe even a future without many of the diseases we're so afraid of today. The science is moving forward at an absolutely breakneck pace. The real question we all have to ask ourselves is, are we ready for it?